Good afternoon. We're obviously disappointed in the Supreme Court's decision to grant a stay against the manual recounts here in Florida, and we're disappointed for several reasons. First and foremost, we were actually quite pleased with the progress being made at the counts underway here in a number of counties. Our latest information shows that 13 counties had completely or partially completed their recounts, and in those counties, Vice President Gore and Senator Lieberman had gained a net of 58 votes. 5 of those counties were heavily Republican counties. So we believe that the progress made in the count thus far indicated that we were clearly on a path for Vice President Gore and Senator Lieberman to make up the difference and to pull ahead had the count been fully completed. Secondly, we obviously believe, as we told the Supreme Court in our filing this morning, that the balance of harms here weighed against a stay and weighed in favor of allowing these counts to be completed. We believe that the court's decision to stay the counting of the votes was obviously one we disagree with, and we wished the court had ruled otherwise. But third, I think we remain very optimistic about the court, about us ultimately prevailing in the Supreme Court when it hears this case on Monday. We believe that this decision of the Florida Supreme Court was correct, based on state law, and was a faithful and traditional application of this state's statutes and precedents in dealing with election contests. And we believe when the Supreme Court ultimately hears this case, that will be their conclusion. The court's decision today, of course, as Secretary Baker noted, is not a ruling on the merits, and that will come later. And when that comes, we remain very hopeful that the court will rule with us and allow these counts to be completed. David?
I'd be pleased to answer a few questions if you have them.
I'd like to ask a question to Mr. Klain.
He also.
Well, on the 13 counties that you say 58 votes, there are other counties that are partially through that actually have shown Mr. Bush gaining votes. So that's kind of a...
The 58 is a net number of all 13 counties. Well, right, so yeah, he gained some votes. We gained more than 58, and in the end, 58. We gained as far as they got before they stopped. We gained a net of 58 votes in the 13 counties.
No, I understand, but there are other counties that haven't completed that Bush has gained votes. So on the overall number, this is you're trying to give the impression that we should subtract 58. No?
As you should. That is, that was the state of the counts when they were stopped. In partial counts or full counts, we gained votes, they gained votes. The net of all those results, based on the latest data, was Vice President Gore gaining a net of 58 votes. And again, some of those were from very Republican counties. In Escambia County, which is a very heavily Republican county, we net gained 3 votes. Which obviously is not a big gain, but it's in one of their counties. So we felt very good about the progress of the counts. And also, can I say one other thing? From a less partisan perspective, that we thought the counts were proceeding forward in a very orderly fashion, in a very thoughtful fashion. I thought it was heartening to watch the volunteers, the judges in there doing it in a very thoughtful and orderly way. And so we were very pleased with the nature and the tenor of the counts as well.
Why would a justice who was inclined to believe the merits of your arguments vote for a stay?
Well, I think that the justices obviously made a decision that stopping the counts now was the right decision for now. I think when they see the full briefing in the case, when they hear the oral argument, we believe they will agree with our position that the Florida Supreme Court accurately, correctly, and traditionally applied its statutes and its precedents to develop the remedy that it developed in this case. And we think that'll be their conclusion here, David.
I'm just saying, Ron, help me understand why a justice who might be inclined to rule with you would vote for a stay.
Because the test in the court's precedents is a substantial probability, but not necessarily a certainty that they will prevail on the merits. And obviously it's a decision by the justices that there is some chance that Governor Bush will prevail. But that isn't a decision that he will prevail. Again, Secretary Baker himself noted this is not a decision on the merits. And we believe once the case is fully briefed and argued and presented to the court, they will affirm the decision of the Florida Supreme Court.
Mr. Boyce, or David, can you tell us then a little more precisely if the beef they had in a sense today was that the issues presented, they believe that Bush has a substantial probability of success? what can you say to rebut it? Is it the 58 votes that you're going to use? What's your ammunition now?
Well, I don't think the 58 votes has anything to do with what the Supreme Court decides, or at least directly. I think the 58 votes indicates that if this count continues to go forward, it looks like, right now, although nobody can be absolutely certain, that Vice President Gore and Senator Lieberman would win the popular vote in Florida, just as they won the popular vote outside of Florida. I think the thing that's important for the Supreme Court, and Justice Scalia, who is one of the justices who votes for the stay, and he explains why he does that in his opinion. And what he says is that he doesn't want to have, if President Bush is ultimately elected, he doesn't want to have the legitimacy of that presidency undercut by the fact that people will know that there were more votes for Vice President Bush, for Vice President Gore, than there were for Governor Bush in Florida. Now, we think that's wrong. We don't think that's the right way to look at it. But let me just finish the answer, okay? We think the right way to look at it is the way the 4 dissenting justices looked at it, which is that the legitimacy of any president that's elected is going to be impaired unless the American people understand that there has been a full and fair count of all the votes. However, accepting what Justice Scalia says, where that leads him is to say, I don't want to have that count go forward because a doubt has been raised about the adequacy of that count, the legality of that count. I don't want to have that count go forward until the court has had an opportunity to decide this on the merits. Now, we may agree or disagree, and obviously we think the dissent had it better, but the fact of the matter is that the basis for the stay is a basis that says we don't want this count to go forward and then have us overrule it, because that will be something that will cast in doubt the legitimacy of the presidency.